breaking barriers and bridging the gaps between patients and doctors. Welcome to Brainstorming with the Docs and your co-hosts, Dr. Glenn Harrison and Dr. Kolby Condos.
All right, everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Brainstorming with the Docs. I'm Dr. Kolby Condos, Dr. Glenn Harrison, my co-host, the man across the screen. So today we're going to talk about something that I think that is a given, but I think that maybe we need to reiterate a little bit. And I think that is, are you really getting the most out of your life if you are not living your life to the fullest and doing the things in your life that bring you the most joy? For instance, one thing that brings me joy and occasionally a lot of anxiety is whether or not I'm actually going to be on time for this podcast.
Yeah,
but
that's one.
Yeah, I still like doing it. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Could imagine something else. Imagine, I know you had a couple hunting seasons. You have another one that's maybe coming up. Mm-hmm. Imagine if, that's, 80%, I think it would be accurate to say 80% of your activities you enjoy over the course of a year.
Right.
Would you say 80?
Yeah. There's
other things.
But yeah, I would see like my big
hobbies.
Ticket joy,
yeah,
right? My big ticket, the thing that I do that I'm like, I love doing
the big ticket joy. So
yeah.
Can you imagine if you remove that 80% of that joy in your year and you just wiped it out? It was gone.
Yeah. And you didn't replace it with something else.
And you weren't able to replace it with something else.
Yes.
Well,
so we're talking about today, which is like people who are losing their lives while being alive, right? Mm-hmm. People who have fundamentally lost their ability to do the activities that they love and enjoy because their health is preventing them from doing so.
Yeah. And I think it's an obvious concept, as you said. If you're sick and you can't do the things you want to do, well, then your quality of life goes down. Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You think of all the emotional and mental health disorders, something that we never really even talked about before coming into this podcast. Think of all the emotional and mental health disorders are the result of feeling hopeless or a lack of joy in their lives. If you can't experience joy in life, you lose the ambition to do anything in life.
Yep. It's like that gratification model, right? You do something that feels good, you do it again, right?
That's right.
You do something that feels good, you do it again. You don't get that feeling good, you're not going to do it. You don't do it again, right? So that you lose basically the cycle and the rhythm of your neurotransmitters, right? The things that make you feel good, the things that make you feel joy, the things that make you feel fulfilled, the things that make you feel driven, you're just not utilizing the way they could anymore. And then you throw on top of that a bunch of medications, or you throw on that diabetes, or you throw on that joint pain from obesity, or whatever it is, right? It doesn't have to be even that. It could be, whatever, you didn't take care of your eyes and now you can't see and you can't go golfing, whatever.
That's right. Arthritic changes, what have you, being overweight and you used to like to go in the mountains, but now you don't have the energy to, so you sit in your home and you look through the window. Well, how do you push on through life if you can't find it joy?
Right.
And I think it's such an underestimated effect to losing health even faster if you can't find joy in life, and joy disappears quickly. And I think a great example of this that everybody who's listening can all appreciate if they were sick in bed with a cold or flu and couldn't do anything. They were absolutely miserable. How much joy did they have when they were sick and laying in bed and not able to go outside and socialize or what have you?
I got a perfect example of this. Transitional kindergarten, Easter party. I got the chicken pox. Could not go. Missed out. I will never forget that. As long as I live, I'll never forget that I missed the Easter party because I had chicken pox. Right? So yeah. Something like that. But even think about hunting, right? So I talked about my buddy Mike that went with us when we did this, when I went on my latest hunting trip. And he goes, it's a good thing we did it now because I don't know if we can do it when we're 50. And I was like, why not? Why couldn't we do it when we're 50?
That's right.
Well, it's pretty physically demanding. Well, if you take care of your body, you stay in shape, you're eating right. Like you can there's people that are doing it out in their 50s right now.
So right.
I think that as long as you're being proactive about it, you're taking care of it, you can really extend the things that you love in life pretty substantially and pretty significantly.
That's exactly right. And some of these limitations could even be visiting your grandchildren. You know, a lot of people can't travel because of health related issues, but if their health declines and you can't see your children or grandchildren, you can't travel to see them. Well, how much joy did you just lose in life if that is a major part of your existence and your passions and your happiness?
Yep.
So when you lose your health, everything else follows. Everything else follows. And I know we beat that up a million times, but you know, I have there was a case that I worked with, and there was this man I was working with, and he loved this job. He absolutely loved it, and it did require some alertness. He was a driver, and he loved it, and he socialized with people, he'd do all of that. But as his health started to decline, he couldn't even do that. He didn't have enough energy to do any hobbies at home. Everything declined, and he was just barely over 60. So his quality of life depleted. He was beaten. He was depressed. He would come into the office, and you could, if you had depression or all that, well, you could get medicated and go through all those synthetic, those Band-Aids. But it wasn't a lack of medication. It was a lack of existence, a lack of finding enjoyment in his life. And once his life started to come back online, once his health started to come back online, well, then he started able to do those hobbies at home, and he was able to actually get back to work in his mid 60s. So, he was able to get his life back versus it just passing him. Like you said at the start, losing your life while being alive, you're just watching it pass. So I think you talked about a case that you had. I don't know if that's on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had a couple. One, I think that was the most profound for me. And I think that one that I kind of tell my other patients when I'm trying to impress upon them the importance of acting as quickly as possible is I had a patient that had just retired. They retired really at an early age. Their whole goal was they went out and they bought a brand new motorcycle. Right. They were going to tour the country. They were going to go see. I know you're like, one's like, my man. So they bought the new Harley, but they bought the trailer. They were going to take their dog. They were going to roll around the whole country. They were going to see, all the sites they had to see. They were going to hit every state. Well, this individual was diabetic and lost feeling in their feet. So no longer did he feel confident or safe riding his brand new motorcycle. So the thing that they had dreamed about and planned on and prepped for all these years had suddenly just gone away. Now, fortunately, this individual was able to replace that with some other goals and aspirations. But imagine how much better even those would have been if he still had the function he had when he was in his 40s.
That's right. That's right.
So I think that just because you can replace it doesn't mean that it does replace it. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure.
You wanted to do it. You did something else. That's great and grand, but like whatever it is that was preventing you from doing the Harley ride is going to impact your life in other manners.
That's right. Especially if that was such an embedded passion throughout your life, and then you just stop it. It pulls joy from us, and then it affects every other aspect of life. There was a case that I worked with, and he was he was a skier, and as his health declined and his motivation declined and his energy declined, and definitely the ambition started to disappear, and naturally he did less and less and less of it. And then if we get sick long enough and we get pulled out of our hobbies or our passions, we actually lose ambition to pursue those hobbies and passions. And he was just beat. And once I asked him about it. I said, wow, he was an instructor, and he hikes up backcountry skiing, and he is very demanding, very demanding. And he said, I asked him if he was ever going to do it again. Well, no, he couldn't because of X, Y, and Z. So he lost his joy. But once the health started to improve, lo and behold, he sent me a picture of him up on a mountain with his skis, and years later, and he was able to get that passion back. And now that bled into every other aspect of life. There's more energy, there's more passion, there's more joy,
more vibrancy. Every aspect of his life is going to be more vibrant.
So there's a whole different quality of being. There's a big difference of being alive and really being alive. And we live in a world where chronic illness robs us from being alive.
Yep.
Being alive, we're existing, but we're declining. And
So now that we've like preached to everybody about the importance of like really being able to live their best life, what are some things that can like impact your ability to live your best life and live your life to the fullest?
I think recognizing that we're talking about sickness, preventing us from living the life we want, from being engaged with life. I think that's those two things, but I think we got to take it one step farther. Sickness does not just come on. In very few cases, sickness just shows up. It's a lifestyle that creates the sickness, which destroys our life. So, let's take out the sickness part, because that's going to happen, and just look at the modern day lifestyle, the conventional way of living, the standard American diet, all of those, the standard way of living, the standard American way of living, and that modern day lifestyle creates the sickness, which destroys your life. So if we look at the lifestyle, we can actually change our life.
Yep.
Let's ignore the sickness, because the sickness is going to happen, and the sickness is just a symptom.
It's a byproduct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a symptom. It's a byproduct of the poor lifestyle. It's just an outcome of the poor lifestyle. So I think if we look at the lifestyle piece, which is a generalizing here, but there is no medicine, there's no conventional medicine on the planet that is advanced enough to replace a lifestyle.
Nope. And if you have questions on your own lifestyle, like, hey, how can I improve exercise? Guess what? Got a podcast for that. Oh, I have a question on maybe like what's some dietary stuff I can do. Guess what? Got a podcast for that.
Podcast on that.
You have a question on intermittent fasting. Guess what? Got a podcast for that. So I guess that's my way of saying, if you're trying to better yourself, you're trying to improve your quality of life, you're trying to improve your health outcomes, we have a lot of resources available to you. You just have to look on the podcast.
Yeah, there's a lot of podcasts, and there's a lot of information out there, and a lot of times people don't know if it's the right path for them. Well, reach out to a natural doctor. Reach out to me. Reach out to Dr. Kolby, either one of us, and we have all our contact information. I know you'll give it again, Dr. Kolby, but to make sure you're in the right direction. If we're not in your area, we can point you in the right direction, but don't underestimate, because this chronic sickness that the people that I work with, the people that you work with, Dr. Kolby, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow degeneration where, when you are 50, 60, 70, you'll really notice it. If you can maintain it on the front end, you will be able to live vibrantly and engage with life throughout those years. Because if you don't, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You're gonna lose out on life, and it's a big, beautiful world. And just because maybe your neighbors, some family members, maybe your friends at a certain age, they got really sick and disabled and couldn't function, that doesn't mean that's normal. We've normalized sickness in North America, so we don't have to fall into that category. And I think it's very important to know, to realize that we can change our destiny, we can change our future, and we can change our ability to interact with the world for years and years and years.
I feel like that is a perfect way to end this.
Okay.
So if you have info, our contact is info@brainstormingwiththedocs.com. You can get on our websites, www.drgharrison.com or www.northlakeschiropractic.com. Again, we talked about all the resources that are available.
Yeah.
Our podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, Google. We have a YouTube channel. Just look up Brainstorming with the Docs, and it'll pop right up.
It's all there. Mm-hmm.
All
right, man.
Good one, man. I can't wait till the next one.
Well, it's coming up soon. All
right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.